the show about art. Sit back and relax so the show can now start.
Hello and welcome to the Art Show. You're probably wondering what this is and who I am, so a quick introduction. My name is Bonelli. I am a librarian and a self-taught artist who draws for fun and as a way to cope with my various anxiety issues. I also make a lot of office hours live / on cinema fan art, and a while back Tim asked me if I had any interest in putting together an instructional art show.
And I bought it. I bought it. If Brian's into this, can we do a show with him? Cancel Office Hours East and do a show where we watch him draw. Yes. People love that.
So that's what this is. To help me out with this endeavor, I've recruited 3 of my favorite fellow Office Hours Live fan artists, each specializing in a different medium, and together we will take you through the step-by-step process behind creating a work of art. To make things more interesting, we each will be drawing the same picture of Art Garfunkel in our own distinct style. We also will be taking questions that we've received from you on social media. If you're a beginner, I think this show will do a lot to demystify the whole artistic process for you. And even if you're a more advanced artist, I still think there's a lot of good information here for you to learn. So, thank you, and enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Art Show. It's time for our Artists Roundtable. First, a graphic designer who has made animations for Office Hours Live and Neil Hamburger and made album art for Major Entertainer. She's joining us today to give us a crash course in digital illustration. From Wellington, New Zealand, we have Ashley Brown. Say hi, Ashley.
Hello, thank you.
Next, we have a book illustrator, puppet maker, and most impressively of all, she made a Beef House comic. Also, I think it's safe to say she has drawn Art Garfunkel more times than any other human being on the planet has. Here to discuss the ins and outs of working with pen and ink, Ellie Haydu. Hi, Ellie.
Hi.
Hi. I got that right?
Perfect.
Okay, great. And last but not least, we have the person who has the honor of being Tim's official portrait artist. Today she'll be talking to us about painting. Please welcome Sarah Reeds.
Hello.
So let's get this party started, shall we? I'm going to start off, I guess, by showing my drawing of Art Garfunkel and the whole process that I went through, and I'm going to be describing everything I did each step of the way. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, or if there's anything that I'm not explaining properly, please say, Brian, you're a mush mouth, please explain that a little better. So let me just pull it up here. Okay, so this is how I started off, blank sheet. You're always going to start off with a blank sheet of paper if you are using paper as a medium. And now what I like to use is this, let me get it out here. It's this Canson colored pastel paper. It's great. My ex-girlfriend actually is the one who told me about this, and she's a great artist. And it comes in all these great tones. And what I like to do is, just to make things easier, I find a tone that kind of matches one of the base tones of the subject I'm drawing, and in this case, Art Garfunkel. He happens to be a very orange man. I found, well, kind of orange-ish, right? So I picked an orange paper, and orange I found has been like the best paper to use for old Caucasian men for whatever reason. I don't know why. It just seems to, with my style and the way I draw, I get the best skin tones using orange. I don't know why, that's just how it is. And now the issue I have with this paper is that they only give you in each pack like 3 orange sheets, and those are the sheets that I use the most, so you have to buy more of these just to get more orange sheets. They don't sell the shade of orange that I need individually, so Shame on you, Canson. But also there's a plug for them. So without further ado, let's get started. So we start with a blank sheet of paper. And now, as you can see, I start off by drawing the eyeball. And why do I start off by drawing the eyeball? Well, I start off drawing the eyeball because the way I make a portrait, which is probably different from the way other people make portraits, this is not the official way to do this, it's just the way that I do it, is I start off by drawing a part of the body, in this case, the eyeball, and depending on the size of the eye, I base all of my measurements and proportions of the rest of the body, the rest of the face rather, on the size of that eyeball. So if like, you know, if the nose is like 3 eyeballs down, you know, this eyeball is 1 eyeball away from that eyeball, you know, the head is so many eyeballs width. And in some cases, you know, if it's not, you know, if I can't really get a good measurement with a full eyeball, I take, okay, well, the pupil is this big, so this many pupils equals like the length of the, you know, the width of the ear, or something like that. It's just a way to make sure that all of your pieces of the face are in proportion. So that way it'll look right, you know, or it'll look more, it's a way to get the likeness better, you know. You could exaggerate, like I have this this friend, Kenley Dillard. He's a great caricature artist, but that's like next level art. For doing just straight up portraiture and for doing portraiture that resembles as close as you want to resemble the subject, we just, well, I just draw the eyes like that. And now as we go along, you see and you'll see with the lines, I am making these lines, you know, like, okay, so like the tip of the nose or something will line up with, you know, the end of the eye here. And, you know, the eyeball on the other side will line up with the top. So, you know, I'm already marking out just where everything is going to be. Let's keep going. So there's the other eye, nose, nostrils, mouth. And now there are certain rules that you could use for facial drawing faces, like the mouth ends typically line up like this with your eyeballs. We'll get into that later. I'm not big into following any, you know, any rules. Keep drawing, keep drawing, keep drawing. Do the hair, ears, flesh everything out. Okay, now I start actually coloring in, and the way I start is I start with the all the highlights, all the lights, I go from light to dark, which I have heard you're not supposed to do, but I've also heard people say that that's how they work when they're dealing with colored pencils. So yeah, I don't know. That's just the way I do it. I start with the whites. I do all the highlights, all the light areas first. As you can see, and then I start working on the pinkish tones. I will insert a picture of the pencils I use for these tones. Now, I primarily use these Prismacolors, and they give you a lot in these boxes, but really, I do think that sometimes less is more. When you have so many options, when you have so many shades of everything, it could kind of, I think, you could kind of get paralyzed from all the choices you have. So I typically, before I even start a drawing, I like to mark out on the bottom, like, okay, which colors, what these colors look like, which colors I should use. And I kind of tend to stick to the same like 5 or 6 colored pencils. The 2 most important colored pencils, though, that I go through the quickest are white and black. I go through so many white pencils. I go through so many black pencils. Those are must-haves, and I recommend getting a lot of them. There are 2 other sets that I use too, not as much. This brand, which I can't even pronounce the name, and Faber-Castell also does some nice colored pencils. So it's primarily Prismacolor. Most of what you need to do, you could do with Prismacolor. I say stick with Prismacolor, at least, I don't know, do whatever you want. let's continue. Okay, so yep, doing more of the pinks, and I'm trying to get all the he's a very, very wrinkly man. We chose a picture of him. We chose old art to draw. We each democratically decided to pick. We had young art we could do where, I mean, he's a very handsome young man, but handsome isn't that much fun to draw. I like kind of, I like an old, I'm not saying he's ugly, but distinguished, a face with character. And you don't really get that when you're a young man. You have to have that kind of, life has to kind of, weather you down a bit. Yes, he is a most peculiar man, one could say. He's so like serious, but it's like it's a level of serious where it's like goofy, It's like he's the perfect straight man, really. He's a character, and God bless him. We love art. Okay, now I do the clothes, and you could kind of tell I'm doing some cross hatching here just to give it a little more of a texture to it. Cross hatching is you basically draw lines and then you draw intersecting lines over those lines in order to create like depth and shade and texture. And here I'm doing it with various shades of blue and white. Also, you may notice it's kind of hard to tell, but when I'm actually shading in his skin, I am mostly just doing little dashes, little horizontal dashes, just to get, I don't know, it's kind of a look I'm trying to work on. I did a drawing like this of Office Hours fan and fan favorite, Gray Niner, and I think I did it way better in that drawing, so I'll show a picture of him right now. Let's continue. We're almost done, I think. Okay, so now I do the hair, and I don't know about you, but the two things that I find the trickiest to draw are hair and teeth. And I try to avoid drawing the teeth as much as humanly possible. I tend to pick pictures of people who are frowning or kind of smiling, but without showing all their teeth, because for the life of me, I just have the hardest time drawing a good set of teeth without making them look insane. I don't know. I just do any of you have that problem, or is it just me?
Teeth are hard.
Teeth are hard, but as with everything, I think it's about the negative space with the teeth. It's really about the surrounding shapes and darknesses behind your teeth as opposed to actual teeth. Because if you start drawing like chiclets, then you're going to be in trouble. But if you're just doing the shapes around, you get a good depth to the inside of the mouth, outer shapes of the teeth, I find. I know that sounds really simple.
And that brings us to a few great points I want to make. That is, when you're drawing, sometimes you don't want to draw it exactly as you think you're seeing it. You don't want, like, if I were to draw my teeth, the way they actually look, it's gonna look disastrous. There are ways you could kind of, like, you could imply teeth, and you could use negative space. Same thing with the hair, is that you don't want to kind of draw every single strand, because then it's gonna look weird, and it's gonna take up a lot of time. And I always have that issue of the balance between making it look like the picture, but also kind of giving it like an impressionistic. You get more of the feeling that that's how the hair is. So in this case, Art Garfunkel has that really beautiful afro. And it's really just, you're going to do like a whole, it's like a Van Gogh type swirl effect that you're probably going to wind up doing when drawing the hair, or at least that's what I did. Let's see, colors, and then I started coloring in the eyes, which I messed up, and then I did a background and darkening the hair, and we have a finished drawing of Art Garfunkel. Doesn't that look great? Okay. Okay. Oh boy.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've tried Prismacolor pencils and I've never actually successfully finished anything because I find you're saying the choice of colors like overwhelming. I have a pretty big set and I just don't know how to use them. I have no idea. I have to practice more.
Yeah, it's just a matter of practice because I don't know how to use them either.
I don't know how to layer them. Like paint, I know how to layer, but it just doesn't work the same. So
Right.
Well, I knew somebody in college that would use them in a way like, sorry, did I cut somebody off?
Oh, no, go ahead.
I knew somebody in college who would use them like this. They'd take one of the lighter Prismacolors and then they'd add colors on top. And really you can blend them almost like oil paints because they're very oily and dense and they kind of mix together. So it's actually very cool what you can do with Prismacolors because they kind of like, the pencils will mix unlike a regular, just a regular colored pencil. They actually kind of mix, especially the white. The white can really brighten other colors.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I use the white sometimes to do that. Mainly, I find I like the texture it makes in clothes sometimes when you put the white on. It kind of gives it a weird. It's definitely not a skin tone. It's a weird kind of sheen to it that I enjoy because I primarily like drawing faces and I have like no interest in drawing anything else. So it gets like below the neck. It's like, oh, I gotta draw the shirt now. So I found that, yeah, it's great if you're mixing the whites like Ellie said with different colors. You get a really weird textures that you can't get otherwise that really make it stand out. But yeah, as far as like mixing the colors, I'm not really much. I start with the white base and then I kind of just mush the colors and just to see what happens. And it's really, most of art is just experimenting. So much of it comes down to just you experimenting and doing what you're comfortable with or finding techniques that you like. It might not necessarily be the right thing, but who cares if it's the right way, if you think it looks good or if other people think it looks good. There are so many great artists out there who, are, self-taught or they don't traditionally, do anything the way they're supposed to do it. My favorite.
That's me.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's me. Yeah. Is
that everybody here?
Yeah.
Basically, what is? What were you saying? That somebody that just kind of doesn't know what doesn't plan ahead, just kind of.
So, well, I'm going to give an example. My favorite artist of all time is this illustrator named Franklin Booth. He was, I think, in the late 1800s or early 1900s. Don't quote me on that. But he did these pen and ink illustrations, and they're just so meticulously hatched. And it's a technique that I've never seen anyone else before or since do. They look gorgeous, and the level of detail is amazing. And then you read about how he taught himself, and what he did was he would look at all these old advertisements and illustrations and like local magazines and newspapers and try to replicate them with pen and ink, not realizing that those were etchings and that you're really not supposed to, you can't really get that look with just pen and ink, but he somehow, just through sheer will or through sheer repetition, developed this technique where it's so unique and it really looks incredible. And so by him not knowing the right way to do something, he really created something beautiful. And
wow, those are really cool. I love seeing those.
And that's a wrap on the first episode of The Art Show. Be sure to join us next time when Ashley Brown teaches us all about digital art. In the meantime, if you have any questions, comments, or even if you have your own drawings of Art Garfunkel that you'd like me to possibly share on a future episode, Feel free to send me a DM on social media. I am the Brian Bonelli on Twitter and All the President's Man on Instagram. Until then, so long, so long.